Insider presents Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughran. We cover entertainment, news, and tech with special guest appearances. So sit back and enjoy as we geek out together right now.
Good evening, everybody. This is Geek Speak. I'm Meredith Loughran, and I'm waiting for my co-chair, Matthew Harris. Tonight, we've got a full panel of special guests who are going to be talking about comic books, their Kickstarters, and what's happening in the industry, what we're looking forward to in 2021. Let me drop the card here and say hello. Hey, you guys.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello,
All
hello.
right. Well, you know what? I'm going to just randomly pick you guys to go up on the big screen so that you can introduce yourselves. And then don't worry about your Kickstarters because we're definitely going to give you some time to talk about that. Let's see. Who do we want to start with? Tom, let's put you up on the big screen.
Sure. For those that don't know, Tom Hutchison, writer, publisher, art director, and so on for Big Dog Inc. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary in 2020, so we are into 2021, our 11-year anniversary now. But it is our 10-year anniversary of The Legend of Oz, The Wicked West, which is our Kickstarter that we're going to be talking about tonight.
I love your headphones, by the way.
I'm Jimmy Noble. I'm the writer and creator of Totally Rad Comics. We currently have a Kickstarter going on, the Totally Rad Comics Show Me Your Hits, which features the greatest hits of 2020 that we released on our web store that are now available on Kickstarter.
All right. And let's see here.
How you guys doing? I'm a great man.
Oh, your mic's a little bit wonky.
Is it? Can you hear me?
It's better now.
There you go. So I host and run Catch the Craze podcast with my co-host George the Dream Medina, and we also have a comic book which is mostly based on our experience in comic podcast, with some supernatural elements to it. Called Crazees, currently running a Kickstarter right now.
Okay. And Michael.
Hey, what's up, guys? I am Michael Oden, creator and writer of Elysian Fields and Nine Realms Publishing. We're going to be talking about the Kickstarter for Elysian Fields Deluxe Edition, which has been live, and we're wrapping up here in 4 days. And I also have the sign up for my next Indiegogo project, The Embrace.
Okay. So I just wanted to do a little bit have a little bit of an announcement. Our YouTube channel was nuked, and and it wasn't because of anything that we did. I think somebody hit the red button that might not have that wasn't supposed to happen. We were actually migrating over to a different server, and so I think a little bit of technical difficulties, and it's like gone. So we do have a YouTube channel. It has not been hooked up yet. I just didn't have time. This kind of just happened. So if you are tuning in, make sure that you head over to YouTube /C/Geek Insider, no S. And that should be our channel, and I will be uploading some videos to show that we are not gone, we are not nuked. It was just one of those technical things that happen every once in a while. And on that note, let's see, we've got a couple of people here who are tuning in. Trish Bankston, hello. Michael James, Sebastian Bonet, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. So, all right, so let's talk about 2021 first. What do you guys foresee? Like, what's the forecast as far as what your plans are with maybe Comic Cons, what you're doing as far as creativity and things like that? And like I said, if you want to raise your hand anybody who wants to go first, or I'll start calling names.
Well, I think starting with the Comic-Con thing, I think we're way too early to even think about any Comic-Con existing. Most of the cons from the spring are already pushing themselves back to October, November, December. I mean, that's just the reality of it. There might be a handful of little tiny ones that pop up from here and there because they don't have to deal with gigantic crowds. But I think most sort of quote unquote real Comic Cons are not going to be happening until at least the fall. And I think that's just a realization that everybody has to wrap their head around. Probably easier now because we've already did it last year. We canceled everything last year. So we're kind of still in the cancellation mode. But anybody who was coming around and it's like, oh, it's January and cons will be here in like March. No, that's just not happening. So as creators and so on, we have to be prepared to keep this sort of new normal going and figure out ways to elevate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Tom hit the nail on the head. You know, it's still way too early to tell about anything with 2021 as far as conventions are concerned. And, you know, you got to be prepared for worst case scenario. You know, it'd be nice for conventions to come back. I'm sure everyone here would love to get at a convention at like a bigger scale. But the unfortunate truth is that until we get there, there's no way of knowing, and you need to be prepared for that worst case outcome. But you know, we've been doing this stuff here online with things like this to not only keep people informed about new products, but stay in touch with the fan base and everything like that. So just you adapt and you overcome. That's how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim, the crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't make any plans at all because I don't see anything happening until we get the green light. So spending a lot more time doing live shows and live drawing sessions and trying to build a fan base on all platforms, not just limited to one location. And that's what we've been doing, where we go live on Twitch, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and just trying to build an audience and create awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 2020 was, you know, for the most part, I've already expected 2021 to be a basic virtual comics season again. I had a show planned for March, and then they called me about 2 weeks ago saying it was moved to October, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty much accepting that there ain't nothing that's going to be happening anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the physical form.
Right. You know, I have to say that I was at the D-Land Comics and Collectibles show this past Sunday. It was a very small event, mostly trade, you know, a lot of people reselling toys and comic books and stuff like that. And Silverline was there for the most part. And I met a few other people. It was really cool to be out in the world. And I mean, we were all masked up. There was hand sanitizer all over the place. And it was just really cool to be there. And I know some people are really nervous about it, but it was like one of those things where it was very respectful. Like we were very respectful of our space. You know, we asked permission if we were going to shake hands or something like that, or maybe the elbow bump, or, you know, just a nod of the head and things like that. But again, that was really tiny. And one of the things that I think I'm really concerned about is the shows that were normally scheduled for the beginning of the year pushing towards the summer, and now people have to really pick and choose where they're going to go. How are you guys going to determine the shows that you go to, if you go at all this year?
If you invite me,
okay,
then you know, we can talk about it. If I'm getting a comp booth, then certainly we're going to be able to talk about that. If I'm not getting a comp booth, chances are I'm not going to your show. That's basically what it comes down to. There's a handful of shows that I like. It's like, yes, I'll pay to go to C2E2. Yes, I'll pay to go to Emerald City. Yes, here, yes, there. All the other shows, it's so hit and miss that you just kind of have to have a feel for, you know, for what it could be. And it's hard to do, and it's a show that you've never done before. And that's where the comp booth comes in handy, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll take a chance on that show. Because my costs are infinitely lower right off the bat. But with the advent of me being able to turn my phone on and sell to my customers directly, basically any time of the day, any week, the need for a con is reduced. There's advantages to doing cons. Certainly, of course, you're being exposed to tons of new people that would have potentially never seen your product, and so on and so on. But just the pure financial side of it is completely different when you can just sit at home and set up some comics on a rack and talk to your fan base directly versus hotel room, booth, travel, potentially hotel. Maybe you're bringing guests with you to fill out the booth. What I think the opposite side of con goers don't understand, the people on the other side of the booth, is the amount of money and time and effort it takes to do a convention anywhere, really. And this whole thing has changed that dynamic drastically for those that have chosen to understand how it works, how it can work, and make it work for themselves.
Yeah, I'd say for me personally, the big thing would be travel, because I'm a new guy on the scene, so I'm not expecting anybody to throw a comp booth at me. So if I'm going to go to a convention, there's going to have to be an investment for that table space. But then there's also the investment of travel, there's the investment of books and everything like that. And so like this would effectively be my first con as a creator if I got the chance to do one this year. So it'd have to be like it'd have to be a convention that I could reasonably get to and not have to worry about like getting a hotel or doing any of that. I'd have to be able to be like, okay, I can like I might have to wake up at an ungodly period in the morning to go drag my stuff over there, but at the end of the day, I'd be able to go drive there and get it done.
Yeah, I think localization is key, especially just to put feelers out. I watched your video when you were at that con. When I was on, I don't know if it was it was on Sunday's brunch. I got that nostalgic feeling. I missed it. And I was like, oh, I wish I was there. But I think it would be local. So if I'm in New York, New Jersey area, I'm good for it because it's just a drive away from me. Just to start out and get a feel for the crowd, get a feel for my book because it's a new book, and see what the reception is to that. And then wait to see any big investments. I'd have to, I'd wait a little bit. I'll just do a lot of local shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jim, anything?
For me, I mean, yeah, the location's a pretty big deal because all the cost that goes into it, but also safety. I'm very concerned about safety right now with the way the world is right now. It's like I don't want to go to a show that's not practicing the rules and regulations that they should be practicing. I don't want to get exposed. I don't want to get sick, and be out of commission when I get back, for however long, because I just got to keep things going. So
yeah, con crud is already real. Now we have potentially super con crud, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, exactly. And Trish says 4 out of 5 people here we meet online, and hope you all continue online stuff because with Mike's health concerns, don't know where or when we can attend a large con like C2E2. And Nita Lanning says, I miss physical cons because of the cosplay and being able to inspect merch, but I love virtual because it has opened up so many new creators we wouldn't have been able to meet.
Yeah, and we just we're talking about like the merch and stuff and the cosplay. We just did an event last year, Comic Unity Online, where we actually it was a Kickstarter, but it was a larger event where we actually had cosplay involved in the event cosplay contest. We had about 7 or 8 different people come in and did cosplay, and all of the backers got to vote on who won, and the winner was put on a cover and all kinds of stuff. So as far as like these live things and Kickstarters and so on, that's the next step, is figuring out how to elevate them to higher levels. Now, obviously, we'll never be able to replicate being all together in one place. That's impossible. But all of the actual events and the things that happen outside of shaking your hand personally, those are things that we can try and replicate.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm going to do is actually pull up your crowdfund here. Legend of Oz, The Wicked West presents The Age of Ozma. And you are kicking ass here. I mean, like 316 backers, over $19,000. I mean, you are obviously doing something right. And that was something that I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about, all of you. Crowdfunding sites like Indiegogo and Kickstarter have been instrumental in keeping you guys afloat. And, I mean, I know from just putting my own little campaign together how much work is involved, and then kind of going through what's all involved. And Tom, I know, with Comic Unity last year, that was a crap ton of work. I mean, a crap ton of work.
Oh, yeah. And there were 3 of us doing it, and it was still a crap ton of work.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so obviously, you guys are doing something right. You're kicking ass. What would be some of the things that you have done differently this year with this campaign that maybe you didn't think about last year, and you had to pivot and really hustle?
I'm gonna give you a surprising answer. I didn't do anything different.
Really?
That's the reality. I didn't do anything different. And part of that is on purpose, because we want to create, especially with us, because we have so many different books. So this is The Legend of Oz, The Wicked West. We do superheroes, we do horror, all kinds of different things. But because it's all under the Big Dog Ink banner, we want the branding of these Kickstarters, so that no matter which Kickstarter you're looking at, image style, reward images, marketing, and all that kind of stuff, the visuals are similar, so that people look at it and they go, "Oh, that looks familiar. What? Oh, yeah, that's a Big Dog Ink thing." And so all of our Kickstarters are almost templated in a way that no matter who somebody is, if they come in and they back Oz, and then they come in and they back Penny for Your Soul, and then they come in and they back Critter, they're going to understand what they're looking at, and it's going to be very, very easy to do. The only thing that I've changed in the last few Kickstarters is we modified our quantity of books and the pricing. So we used to, when we were doing this, we used to have books that were limited to anywhere from like 300 down to like 100. And the price points would vary between that, from, $15 to $40 based on what, how many books were actually being made. What we did starting last year with Princesses versus Zombies, which at the time was our biggest campaign ever, so clearly something there worked, was we changed everything to be, all of our rewards are now limited to 150 copies, and they're all $20 a piece, period. That includes your shipping as well. It's just, that's it. We wanted to make a super simple campaign. We wanted to make it very accessible to whoever was coming into the campaign. So it didn't matter if it was, Brian Peterson or Shannon Mayer. It's $20 if you want to get the cover. And if you want them all, you're just paying for all of it in one quick click. So that's the only thing that we really changed is the pricing structure for everything. And then the rest is just kind of creating your stretch goals, whatever add-ons you want to do, and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of just tinkering with concepts. Are you going to do poker chips? Are you going to do prints? Are you going to do, whatever you're going to do? But even in that context, we have kind of a similar setup. You're going to get trading cards, you're going to get a poker chip, you're going to get this, that, the other thing. So the collectors, as they've collected through Penny and Critter and Ursa Minor, and they're getting these particular types of items, they're going to get those type of items here with Legend of Oz as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for anybody who is listening on the podcast, we are kind of going through the Kickstarter, and we actually have the links in the show notes here. So head over to Kickstarter. You can do a search for Tom Hutchison.
Yep.
And this campaign will be up. It's got 19 days to go, and really kicking ass here.
Crazy.
I want to know what the secret sauce is.
I didn't even realize how. Listen, I'm totally playing the humble card here, but I didn't realize how good it was doing until today. And I just talked to Jim about this earlier, because I went back and I looked at our Legend of Oz campaign from last year, because I wanted to compare where we were. I knew we were ahead, but I didn't know how far ahead we were. It turns out that as of right now, the dollar figure they're at right now, which is a little over 13 or a little over 19,000, is the same amount within a few $100 that we were on day 20 on the past Kickstarter. So I was like, what just happened here? So it's been a huge uptick. And Jim and I were going back and forth on talking about different months and seasons and what happens when you do a Kickstarter here versus here. I was trying to get, his information, like, hey, when you did something in January and you did something in October, like what happened? We were just doing some comparisons, and it was really interesting. I mean, just once you do enough of these things and you have real analytics to look at, you can go back in and say, okay, here's my spring, here's my summer, here's my fall, and this is what we do, and this is how many people find us. You can really start to analyze what you're doing, and start to figure out, even if all you're doing is figuring out, you know what, I don't need to do something in the fall because it's not working for me. I'm going to focus on the spring and the summer. Any of that information is going to be super, super key as you go forward. When you're doing your first one or first two, it's kind of like, well, we're just throwing the dice and we're going to see what happens. But once you've actually done them and you've got real numbers and real information to look at, it starts to get really interesting.
Now, the thing that I wanted to ask all of you, because this isn't your first campaign for any of you, the variant covers, how important is that? And then how do you find the artists to do them?
Well, it's basically it's everything for as far as variants go, because if you were to come in, let's say, and have one book, let's just say you had your book and you had one cover, and you had costs that were the equivalent of, I don't know, let's just throw a number out, $5,000. You have to come up with $5,000 selling one book, and probably selling that book at around a $5 mark, maybe with shipping. So maybe 10, let's say $10. So to get to $5,000 with a $10 book, just do the math. That's how many you have to sell. So that's brutal. That's a lot of freaking books to sell when it's just one single book. With variants, it changes everything. And not only does it change your potential income, but it opens, here's the most important part. And this is the part that people just seem to kind of miss when it comes to variants. When you do a variant cover with an alternative artist, so let's say you had your basic cover, in my case, Carlos Reno, he's doing his basic cover. It's fine. There's your basic cover. But then all of a sudden you say, well, now I'm going to have, I don't know, Eric Bassel do a cover, right? All of a sudden your product has now opened the doors to all of Eric Bassel fans. Like immediately. He has his own personal following that buys his product. Now that doesn't guarantee you a sale, but it does open that door to all of those people that buy his stuff. And that's the important part, because even if they just buy it just for his cover, you've still made a sale, regardless of if they ever open the book or read it or whatever. And I know that's brutal to hear for us writers. It's like, no, we want them to read the book. Oh my God. But ultimately we need them to buy the book so that we can keep making books. And so having those variant covers and those variant artists specifically opens all kinds of doors to more fan base that we wouldn't necessarily have had access to just by ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Anybody want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead, Jim. We're playing that game. Okay. So what I would say is, when it comes down to the whole variant cover issue and everything like that, covers are what sell a book. At the end of the day, that's what when it comes down to comics, the cover is what is going to draw the consumer to check out your product. If they're looking at it at a store and looking at it online, the first thing that they're going to see is, what covers, especially when you're looking through a campaign, it's, what covers do they have? Let me take a look at what covers they have. If this is a creator that I've seen on a stream, and I think that he's a solid dude, and I think his product has potential, let's see if he has a cover that really speaks out to me. That's like your hook, line, and sinker right there. And so they are a big part to invest in. And on top of that, Tom touched on it a bit, where you're bringing in other creators and tapping into their fan base, but even more so, you're getting another avenue of promotion as well, because those guys are going to share it out to a whole bunch of places, and you're just you're expanding your viewership as far as possible, because you never know who's going to see it. And if if you're someone like me that doesn't have a lot under their belt, and you go and you hit somebody up that is a big name and they're promoting your stuff, it's like, oh man, I need to go check this guy out because so and so is a big name artist and he did a cover for them. And if he did a cover for them, that means there's got to be something there, right? And so yeah, no, like the variant covers are a very big part to a campaign. And Tom also hit the whole point of, if you only have one book, it's and like you gotta reimburse your costs. That is an uphill battle. Like, you can do it, but it's gonna suck.
What we did was we had a contest, and then we picked the best cover to be the alternative. We got lucky, Daphne Lage did the alternative cover for our first Kickstarter. We have a secret is for a stretch goal. We have another artist that's doing an alternative cover for the second Kickstarter that we got going. We're not going to announce it just yet, but
oh, come on, it's Geek Insider.
Not just yet. Yeah, so it works because to I think it was Jim's point. I'm not sure if you get exposure to their fans or their supporters, and for us, the last Kickstarter was our first. We're on our second Kickstarter. I've never, this is my second time ever doing a Kickstarter. So while I'm excited that we're ahead with our goal, when I look at your numbers, I'm like, oh my God, I got a long way to go. I'm hanging with the big boys. So,
yeah, but you can't compare. That's like me. I mean, I could look at Brian Polito and be like, dude, I suck, right? But what you have to understand is here's Brian Polito. He's got 25 years behind him and a character that everybody knows. So for me, I've got 10 years behind me and characters that some people know. But it's taken a long time to build the audience and the following into that. And even when we built the following into comics, now we have to kind of redirect them into Kickstarter. So it's not like, we used to sell 3,000-4,000 comics at retail to comic book stores. We don't have 3,000 backers on these campaigns. So it's a completely new learning experience for everybody involved. And we're kind of having to just, rebuild from the ground up again. So you don't ever compare yourself to anyone else. All you have to do is look at where you started and see if you're better than where you were. And if you are, then you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, we're excited. The fact that we even, in 4 days we were able to make our goal or exceed our goal, that surprised the heck out of me. I woke up. I mean, I was about to go to bed, and I said, let me just check, and I was like, oh, look at that. I called my partner, I called George, and I was like, yo, did you see this? But it's exciting because it's a new space. I'm learning how. We were on backup pause where I let them just rip apart my video, and I took the information and now we revised it, and our watch through percentage increased significantly. So, we're taking all the notes and we're learning from everybody.
That's good.
And Jim, before I take a break, anything on variant covers, because I know you've got a ton of them.
Jim does only like 3 covers. I don't know what he's doing.
I was thinking about it as everyone was talking about variants. I was like, well, the first Kickstarter I ever did, I started with 9 variants and I ended with 16. 16 is a decent number. You could basically get all those for a couple $100, not a bad deal. And our current Kickstarter, we started with 50 covers and currently are almost up to 80 variant covers on the current Kickstarter. What I like to do, as far as variants go, it's a big thing of marketing. You got to pick your artist. You got to know who sells, what will buy, what are the fans looking for. This is my 6th crowdfunding campaign, so as far as variants go, it's like, well, I know they want some XXX rated stuff, so I'll do like 6 of those, and I'll do 5 of one person, 10 of another person, and it's a very niche market, but it's a very frugal market if you know how to market it right.
I was going to say, I thought it was like 10 of everything, but that's you buying the books.
Yeah.
I pay attention. All right, you guys, we're going to be right back. This is about a 30-second break if you need to take a drink or something like that. And this is Mobile Edge.
We'll be back right after this.
Check it out. MobileEdge.com has award-winning products with innovative features and contemporary, edgy designs that empower you to look sharp and travel smart with your mobile tech. Your beloved, not to mention expensive gaming gear and mobile tech devices, are an extension of you, so give them the protection and style they deserve wherever you go. Find them at MobileEdge.com and protect your tech with Mobile Edge. Bring it on. Hey Geek Insiders, Mobile Edge has a special coupon code for our dedicated listeners. Get 25% off your Mobile Edge gear using coupon code GEEK25. That's GEEK25. Geek out.
All right, and we want to give a special shout out to Mobile Edge. That coupon code is good, even though the video said it expires in December 31st, 2020. It's still good, you guys. Use Geek25 to get your mobile tech. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull up Elysian Fields here so that we can talk about this, and then.
Awesome.
Another question. Let me share my screen first here. There we go. Sharing that. Now, we're not really going to do any videos or anything like that. So the Elysian Fields Deluxe Collector Edition. You have 4 days to go.
Yep.
Michael Oden.
How we doing?
You got a ways to go. You're at 1,244 of a $2,500 goal, 34 backers.
Honestly, I know that looks like there's a lot. It's not. Like you know, I've seen crazy things happen. And, you know, this is the first time I've been on the Kickstarter platform. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm doing this from my phone, and it has like the entire screen is frozen, so I can't see anything. It's great. So I wanted to make sure. But this is my first Kickstarter. Technically, I've done 2 Indiegogos, and even for this book, we finished up our Pyramid Gambit Indiegogo at over 8K, and we did I did this Kickstarter, and you know, we had some people requesting us to come over to Kickstarter, and so that's why I did it. We have gotten a decent amount of support, and it's going to be tight, but hitting that 2,500 is more than doable. As I said, you know, I've seen crazier things happen, and you know, on my first Indiegogo campaign, we raised 1,200 in the last day. You know, so like it's just a matter of making sure that, you know, I'm on the right shows, making sure that I'm doing the right posting and this, that, the other over the last 3 days. So it's going to be campaign overhaul. I did the 60-day campaign for this, and I got hit with some personal issues that I had to resolve, but we had already had like a solid amount of people coming back. So I was like, okay, I'll push when I can, but like I had stuff I had to focus on, and that is what it is. But I still, like, as I said, you know, plenty of time left to get in on this book. We've got a lot to offer. Print files already at the printer. Books will be out here pretty shortly too. So it's not like people are going to be waiting around for this one to get to them. It's going to be pretty immediate on their fulfillment. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things where this is a learning curve. Kickstarter wasn't my wheelhouse, and the fact that we are where we are with everything that's gone on since 2020 and carrying over, I'm more than happy, because I think it means the product stands for itself, and you know, we have the support. I just need to make sure that these next 3 days I'm out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be really hard. And I know for me, I think I've got about 6 days left on mine. It's pros, so I'm not even going to talk about it tonight. But trying not to smash my F5 button and hit the refresh every day. I'm trying to pace myself a little bit. You know what I mean? But that last 24 hours, oh my gosh, I can just imagine. I'm not there yet.
It's one of those things where that last day, you really got to be like, and I would say even the last 2 days, you need to be going, because like at that point you can do like the 48 hour countdown. and break it into like segments and your posts and everything like that. But so yeah, like that's honestly all it is that you just got to go out there, you got to push. And I haven't been able to do that as much as I would have liked for this Kickstarter. As I said, life sometimes gets in the way, and we'd had a decent enough amount of support, so I didn't feel like canceling it was the right option. So we pushed forward. I've promoted when I can. We have about 50% of the book funded, of this campaign funded, and it's for a book that's already been paid for. So like this is just helping us make sure that we have stuff to invest in the next project. This is getting people their books, getting us more out there and expanding our base. And even if we don't end up hitting this goal, anyone that's backed, I'm going to be I'm going to be figuring out a way to allow those backers that backed the campaign, if they're interested, to get a hold of the tiers that they would have gotten had the campaign funded.
And so I wanted to ask you guys here, there are a lot of people who really lean towards Kickstarter and a lot of people who lean towards Indiegogo. How did you make that decision?
Me personally, it was more of a UI thing. Like I had seen a lot of campaigns that I really liked on Indiegogo. I think that played a little bit onto it. But the biggest thing for me is I initially started trying to do a Kickstarter thing. I didn't like the layout. I didn't have the know-how to really do it. And even on this campaign, I think I did a solid job, but I did all of the campaign layout and everything myself. And I still got a lot to learn as far as in the graphic design department. I'm not bad, but like there's still room to grow. But like on Indiegogo, a lot of that stuff you don't really have to do. There's a lot more like text options when you're doing the Indiegogo layout. There's a lot you can have, like each perk tier has an image for the product. Like there's a lot of nice things that you can do on the Indiegogo that you can't do on the Kickstarter, and it's very easy. It was very easy for me to set up, and that was what ended up really being the thing that pushed me over there.
Tom, Jim, the crazy man. I mean, what was your decision to go to Kickstarter as opposed to Indiegogo?
For me, it was talking to JD Calderon and Daphne. And so we spent a lot of time with JD talking about the ins and outs, and it just seemed that was the direction that we chose. We just flipped the coin and said, let's go there. I've never done any of these crowdfunding campaigns, so that was our first go-to.
Tom, Jim?
Yeah, it was basically brand awareness. Indiegogo was a non-existent factor when I started looking at doing these types of things. I might have heard of it, but everybody that had done it was talking about Kickstarter. They were just like, hey, we did a Kickstarter. And I knew people that had done Kickstarter. So I was like, all right, let me look at what this is. And I just focused my attention on that. And, we built our brand into Kickstarter.
Yeah, I've done 5 Kickstarters and 1 Indiegogo. I did an Indiegogo over the summer last year for 2 weeks just to try it out. I mean, I made 10K, but people are going to say the pros and cons of both sites. And as far as, working with each one, I'd have to say Kickstarter is a much more friendlier site for the type of books that I put out as opposed to Indiegogo was. They were very pain in the ass when it comes to adult books, even though I censored everything for them. And then they said 2 weeks later, hey, you didn't censor this, so we're going to hold the money that you made. And I was like, well, that's not fair. But eventually it worked out. I got the money, but Indiegogo was very unhelpful for a creator like me.
I think for anybody who's coming out of the gate, who's new, and maybe when they're trying to set their goals, and I think that's the next question that I want to put up there. How is it that you set your goals? Because I've seen a few There was one, and I'm not going to name it, but they had like a $10,000 goal, never crowdfunded before, never supported anybody, and obviously it's flailing. How do you say?
Well, that's lunacy. That's just lunacy. I mean, that's just somebody who's has no concept of what they're doing. Is literally what it comes down to. I mean, now granted, that $10,000 might be their legitimate number that they need, and in which case I get it. But there's no way the odds of you coming out of the gate as, hey, I'm a newbie with a new book and nobody's heard of me and I need 10 grand, like that's almost impossible. It's virtually impossible. Again, unless you're really playing into the variant game and you have some names to come with you, that's how you would reach those kinds of goals.
Right.
But like Jim, like when you did your first one, you came out of the gate like as a zero, right?
Yep.
So what was your first, and how did you manage your first one?
The way I managed it, I had the 9 covers I started with. I picked artists that seemed to have a decent following, and I was like, okay, I'll get these guys. I reached out. They said, yeah, I'll do a cover, and I said, great. And then as the Kickstarter went on, I'm on a goal of $1,000. We got funded in about 8 hours, and I was like, oh crap, I got to do stretch goals. I didn't plan for this, and so eventually, like as the Kickstarter kept going on, I had more and more money coming in. So I reached out to a couple other artists who were already out there on other Kickstarters or had a Kickstarter going on. I was like, hey, could you do a cover for me? My Kickstarter ends in 2 weeks, and they were able to pump out a cover in like 2 days. And, on a goal of 1,000, I ended up with 8,000, which in hindsight, that doesn't really happen often at all on Kickstarter with guys like
But now, so this will take me back around because there's how do we say this? There's ways to rig the system, how shall we say?
Do tell.
And basically, basically, this is how it generally works, guys. Everything online is algorithmic, and so what happened with Jim, and this goes with other people too, is the way that Kickstarter works. There's a popularity button as well, so you can see how popular you are in comparison to all these other campaigns. Every time you roll over 100% on your your goal, you're incrementally boosted up the ladder, and you are more and more apt to be seen randomly on their site versus somebody having to go find you. So that worked in Jim's favor because he had a $1,000 goal. He funded it in 8 hours, and suddenly he does another 1,000, he's bumped again. He does another 1,000, he's bumped again, and so on and so on and so on. So algorithmically, there are ways to play and monkey with things. And that's why you'll see a lot of campaigns will come out and they'll just be like, hey, it's $1, man. We're starting at $1. Like, that's not a real goal, obviously. Right. But they know that the algorithm, if they can get to $1,000, they're suddenly massively percentagely so high that their campaign will continue to just appear more often in random, hey, I'm on Kickstarter searches. So that's one of the weird little tricks.
Yeah,
like, the problem with that, however, is that if you put yourself at, say, $1,000 goal, but your real number needed is 5,000, and you only come up with like $2,000, well, guess what? You're hosed, because now you have to come up with that extra money on the back end yourself, because the people that did pledge for you want their stuff.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
100%.
Now, I guess the flip side of that is then at what point does it feel like maybe you didn't ask for enough? Do you get pushback from that, especially with the bigger campaigns? You see some of the campaigns like the Legend of Oz, it's up there, and you're developing that reputation that your crowdfunds are going to make money. Granted, it's a lot of damn work, and you have the variant covers and stuff like that. But then, do you ever hear back from people going, "Well, why'd you set it that low?"
No, because here's the thing: $5,000 is not the goal needed to produce this book. Mm-hmm. That is not the number. It's like Brian Polito; he sets all of his goals at 15,000. If you think he's producing that book that he's doing for $15,000, no way. It's simply a number that makes sense to kind of get the campaign started. It's high enough that it makes sense. It's low enough that you should be able to fund quickly. I mean, I know guys that do $60, $70, $80,000. They set their initial goal at 3,000 just because they want to fund that much faster and be able to say, I funded in 30 minutes or whatever. But who cares? The 3,000 doesn't mean anything. But algorithmically, it means everything. So for us, we always just kind of started at 5,000. Because that's a large chunk of what it takes to create the book. And then from there, we have to pay all the artists and the cover artists and the printing and all the stretch goals cost money. So it's not like, hey, we did $2,000 and here's a stretch goal. Like we don't get $2,000. Like that money goes into producing the actual stretch goal. So yeah, we might make a little extra on it, but it's not like that's just free and clear money. So yeah, we're not all the people that you're looking at, like me and everybody below me, we're not all like doing a Kickstarter and then buying boats. Like it's not happening. We're paying our people to do the stuff that we need to get done. We're paying for all the shipping, which is a huge expense. And then we're paying our rent, man. I mean, this is what's happening.
Yeah, 100%. To piggyback off of what Tom was saying with the algorithms, Kickstarter, I think he was saying that it goes by like $1,000 mark and what have you. I know that on Indiegogo, it's like every single time you hit another 100% of your funding goal. So each time you hit that, you get boosted up in their algorithm. You just got like that's why on like Indiegogo you'll see people set their campaigns pretty low, and then they're constantly hitting it, so that's constantly getting boosted on the Indiegogo main page. Like there's all sorts of little strategies for that that you got to kind of look into and research. There's a lot of in-depth research that you can do on making sure that your crowdfunding campaign is successful. It's something that you got to do your due diligence on. I unfortunately do have to roll out though. I've got some stuff that's about to go down and I need to take care of.
Okay, well, Michael, hold on a second. Let me put you on the big screen so that you can tell people where they can find you.
Absolutely.
And it's all yours.
All right. Well, my name is Michael Oden. I'm the creator and writer of Elysian Fields and Nine Realms Publishing. You guys can, as you saw, we got our Kickstarter. We got 4 days left on that. We're about 50% funded on there with a $2,500 stretch goal. It's not that far away, especially with the per tiers that we have. Books are already being made, so it's a guaranteed thing that you'll have your books probably within the month that the campaign finishes up. And we have the sign up for the Embrace on Indiegogo, which is going to be just an absolutely stellar book that you're not going to want to miss out on. Thanks so much, Meredith, for having me on. Thanks for considering me in the same tier with guys like Tom Hutchison and Jim Noble. They're great dudes, and it's great to see you, Crazy, down there. I need to make sure I get in on the second Kickstarter. I wasn't able to make it in on the first, so.
Well, thank you, Michael Oden, for tuning in and taking up a chair here so that we could talk about your Kickstarter. And we're going to have those links up on our Geek Insider Facebook page. Right now, I'm streaming to my personal YouTube channel. We will get the Geek Insider channel back up for YouTube. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, and it kind of wiped out our stuff. That's okay. We can rebuild. I've got strong shoulders and I'm not crying, okay? But, okay, Crazy Man. I've got your, while we were talking, I've had your Kickstarter up here.
Yeah, I saw
and scrolling through and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about your campaign.
Oh, basically, my campaign is about it's basically almost like an autobiography, but with some humor and fantasy elements to it. It's about my journey and my partner George's journey in comics. 10 years ago, when we first started in comics, we started our podcast, Cast the Craze, and we were one of only a handful at that time, and we were very successful at the time. And I decided to leave comics forever for 10 years, and I walked
Wow.
away because real life took over. And but it was always yearning, and I was doing a 9 to 5, the grind, but always it was like calling to me. And George stood in the game, and he was going from convention to convention, selling his books, but there was something missing, and so we reconnected, and we decided to bring back the podcast. And from the podcast came Catch the Craze, and basically it's two guys who are trying to rebuild their success in the podcast, and they find that the world has changed, and they're just small guppies in a big pond. So Sam loses his mind, and he goes into the woods at night and shouts out to the universe, "Help me be the number one podcast in the universe, and be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it." So, a supernatural alter ego, the crazy man, responds, and he unleashes the crazies on the populace. And now Sam and George are the subject of a massive investigation, because people are walking like zombies because they're addicted to the show, and they have rival podcasters that been taunting them. And now they're entering this major competition, and they're accusing them of cheating, and so it just spirals off. And then so now when they realize what's happening, Sam and George and the crazy man have to stop the crazies and catch them.
So this is Catch the Crazies, and this is on Kickstarter as well. You've got 22 backers, 22 days to go, $2,340. You're already past your goal, so congratulations on that. And I know you've got some stretch goals and some really interesting tiers. Now, tell me a little bit about that, because you do podcasting. I mean,
Yes.
Was this kind of based on real life?
Yes. So a lot of the stories are from what happened to us in real life. It starts off issue 1. If you picked up issue 1, it started off with me hosting the Comic Book Artists Guild award ceremony at New York Comic Con. I was the MC there, and so it starts off there, and then it's like a flashback scene, and then it breaks off where I am going through the grind and working in a corporate environment, and not happy with my life, and and that's how so we take real life, and then we added the rivalry. That's a fantasy element, and the crazies are another fantasy element, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the things that we say in the studio and the gags that we have are in the book as well.
All right, very cool. And let me just pop this in here. I'm sorry, I'm between screens right now, so I feel a little bit disjointed.
No problem.
So I guess the next thing that I kind of wanted to ask you guys, as a fairly new creator, I mean, finding the artists and things, I kind of touched on it earlier. How is it that you approach people to do the variant covers, or do they approach you? I mean, what's the process, and how do you think they found you?
I think for me, we got lucky because we put a contest out. And on the first one, on the second one, I had an artist reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'd like to help you with your, and support you and just do something for you." And we started talking. And so we've been very
wild.
Yes, we're very fortunate that we've built a community of people that want to see this become successful. And so especially for this is new. I've been gone forever, and we entered the game with a concept that is not your typical comic book concept. And so we know there's a risk factor there because everyone's into a specific genre of comic books, and so we're coming from left field, and we just over the years we've just built a large community of family of friends, and then people just want to come out and support.
Jim, Tom, I mean, like, how is it that these artists are kind of coming out of the woodwork for you guys? I mean, and I want to kind of preface that by saying, there is no such thing as an overnight success. I mean, it takes time to build up the reputation. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, for us, we were super lucky, honestly, at the beginning. I mean, the very first variant cover we ever had for Big Dog Inc. was Eric Basildua and Nia Rufino. So it's like, well, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. And then Mike DeBalfo followed right behind that. And then it just kind of, we were off to the races. I was talking to Ryan Otley from Invincible, and it's just like, what is happening? Todd Knock was amazing. He was one of the guys that helped me get into comics, or not get into comics, but helped me kind of understand the publishing side, because he had done his own book through Image and so on. And he was super awesome. He even let me, how does this happen? Todd Knock lets me borrow one of his characters to put into my book. I'm like, I haven't even been around a year. Like, how does this happen? So big props to Todd. He was great. So over the years, it's basically like, how do you get somebody? You get on your keyboard and you start sending messages out, or you go to Comic-Con and you talk to people or whatever. I mean, that's it. Artists are very funny people. If you pay them, they will generally draw something for you. I mean, it's kind of how it works. Very odd group of people. Really it comes down to from the, as far as the, like, getting names, whatever you would consider a name, they have to figure, number one, that are you actually going to pay them? Number two, what is it that my cover's being put on? Do I want to draw whatever this is? And those are basic, and then that's it. I mean, then it's like, hey, artist X, I'm doing this book for, called The Legend of Oz. It's a Western reimagining of The Wizard of Oz. I need a Dorothy Gunslinger cover. Are you interested? Yes or no. And then you just take the next steps. How much is it? What's the deadline? Blah, 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 blah. And then over time, as we developed our own reputation, people would then, that's where we started to get the people that would come to us. But most of the time it was the people that were newer, because the people that had the names, I mean, they already have all of they're working for Zenescope, they're working for Dynamite, they're working for whoever. So it's just a matter of us being at the right place at the right time to get into their schedule. So while we don't get those big guys all the time, you have to fill those gaps. And that's where the folks that come in and they're like, hey, dude, I've seen your stuff. I'm a big fan. Can I just draw something for you and show you what I can do? It's like, yeah, of course. That's how we found guys like Steph Wilson. I used to put out ads on a website called Digital Webbing that still exists, but I don't know how it functions anymore. But I used to just put out literally advertisements being like, I need an artist for a cover. I need an artist for interior. And then once we kind of got all of that, then it was sort of word of mouth. So when I was doing Penny for Your Soul, that artist was part of a studio down in Brazil. And so when I needed another artist, I basically talked to his studio head and I was like, who else you got? And so it becomes like this, this trail of, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon type of thing. Who else do we know? And then we go that way. And then it just keeps expanding outward and outward into a huge artistic Venn diagram. So yeah, that's the super long answer to a short question.
Jim, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, basically everything Tom said is 100% the same thing I do. Like, networking is a really big thing. Reaching out to people, just saying, hey, like, here's what I do. Do you want to draw naked women or naked clowns? Or, how do you feel about clowns? And it's either yay or nay, or they're like, well, tell me more. And then I show them pictures and they're like, don't talk to me anymore. Or they're like, yeah, I want to do it, man. And usually for me, a lot of the times, like, I get a lot of new artists that reach out to me who may have one cover, may not even have any published covers at all. They're like, hey, would you give me a shot? And I'm like, okay. I typically never really say no, as long as they're comfortable with doing adult material. But yeah, like, just, they'll never say no to money as long as you pay them. And like, I got an artist that literally all she does is covers for me, and like, I get a cover or two every month, and she's like, here's another cover. I'm like, okay, here's more money. And she's a fan favorite. Everyone loves her. So it's like, yeah, just keep making covers.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we are almost at an hour. I've got another bump here. Is there anybody that's got to go? Yeah,
Nope, we're good.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
Have you ever wanted to be part of a writer's room? Come join us on Creativity in Progress every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Twitch and YouTube, the CIP network, where creativity comes to life.
All right, that was a super short break there. Okay, welcome back. This is Geek Speak. I'm Meredith Loughran, and with me today I've got Tom Hutchison, Jim E. Noble, the Crazy Man. Do we call you Sam or just the Crazy Man?
Sam. You can call
All right.
me either one.
And we had Michael Oden earlier. we've got one more Kickstarter that we're going to go through. But and while I bring that up, I did have a question because I wanted to talk about that network, the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Let me just pull this up first here. How important are the Facebook groups, and how do you how do I say this delicately, stay away from the toxicity that you can often find in them?
You stay away from the toxicity by dropping that crap in an instant as soon as you see it. That's it. There is no point trying to combat it. I know people will say, well, no, I'm going to try and make this better. You're not going to make anything better. Get out, go find a better place, make your own better place if you want to. I did that with the Artist Alley Shopping Network. I'm part of the Comic Book Shopping Network. And I was like, dude, you're missing a key piece to this whole thing. And I was like, let's do the Artist Alley Shopping Network. So we curated that and have turned that into a 1,600 vetted audience members for our artists. And we keep very close track of who's making trouble and who's, just there to have fun and so on. So if you're in a place that just sucks, just get out. I mean, there's 0 point in hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Facebook is like basically my lifeline, especially if, the way the world is right now. It's like, if it wasn't for Facebook, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups. Sometimes every now and then you'll get like a negative comment, but you just ignore those people. And 9 times out of 10, they don't really ever like comment on your stuff again. They just leave you alone.
Yeah, I agree. If I see it, I ignore it. Or if it's someone that's connected to me and it just gets out of hand, I just delete it. I just don't participate.
Yeah, I have to say that my experience, because I'm not new to social media by any stretch of the imagination, but I am new to the comic book world. And it's kind of funny because when I started probably about a year ago, basically my pitch was, hey, I've got a story. How the hell am I going to find an artist? And so I went through and I found a lot of these groups. And, obviously, I know as a freelancer that, people are always asking for free work. And that's tough because you have to kind of, sometimes you do the free work to get your name out there and known. And then sometimes, you have to reach a point where you're like, nah, I got to charge you for that. And it's really hard. And so what I found was in a lot of those groups, before I even said a word, I was just in as an observer. And, so people were looking for artists or people were looking for writers, and they were mocked because they were like, maybe they didn't know, or maybe the budget was tight and they were just looking for people to collaborate with.
Sure.
But to go into the forum and just go, blah, I want free work, the reception was, not nice.
Yeah, it's all in the presentation. What I tell people about the free work part or the collaboration part is, and they all kind of like, oh, I'm never going to do that. I'm like, okay, let me just tell you 4 words. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The biggest collaboration in the history of comic books, maybe. And those guys just got together and were like, dude, let's make a stupid comic. Like, that's literally what Eastman at once said in an interview. He was like, yeah, I want to make something really stupid. And so he drew a turtle and he drew it with nunchucks, and they were like, dude, this is stupid. Let's make it. And now look where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle is. Don't be afraid of collaboration, but that doesn't mean just simply anybody who walks in off the street, you should just start, working with, it's hard to vet new people because they're new, but, don't be afraid to do something if it sounds like it could potentially be valuable, if only for one issue or whatever, and then move on. And then you can actually say you have something done, because here's one of the keys, guys, to creating and to breaking in, whatever the hell that means. Marvel, DC, Image, all these companies, they don't want new people. They want people that have been doing this themselves for a period of time and have a track record of, hey, look, I've produced this book myself. I understand deadlines and art and writing and publishing and all of this. And then those companies can say, oh, okay, this guy's got some whatever. There's so many people that I see on these threads that are like, oh, dude, this sucks. This is terrible. I'd do that for free, man. I'd do it better. I'm like, that's why you don't have a job, because you're not even doing anything and you're just running around crapping on other people that are actually literally doing it. And that's why you're not successful. It's almost as simple as that, because while there's not necessarily being blackballed, the comic book industry is really kind of small. And so if you're kind of an ass, that attitude will kind of circle around. It'll be like, yeah, that guy he's kind of a jerk and I don't want to work with him. And you've blackballed yourself essentially.
Yeah, all the artists that we're working with for JC Grande, I found him on DeviantArt, and I have I'm on there as well. And the previous artists I found on Instagram. So it all depends on I think it's about networking is huge. And so I'm always on every single day. I spend at least 2 hours just either posting or responding to posts or reacting to posts that I like and or building a network. And because you never know who you're going to run into, who you're going to work with. I try to keep those doors always open. And there's a lot of talented people out there that I just follow because I love their work too. And that's how, and then that makes we're working on something together.
Yeah. I worked with JC too many years ago. We actually made a pitch to Croft for a Land of the Lost comic, and JC did three promo pages for us,
nice.
which was freaking awesome. I love them. They're so great. It's such a great and ridiculous moment in Big Dog Inc. history that we were like a year old and pitching a comic book to Croft. Like, what?
That's awesome.
So now, how do you vet the newbies?
You can't really. You just have to let him do something and get the result. If it's an artist and he's new and it's like, okay, I need you to do this, and then he gives you back the rough and you're like, well, it's not right. I need some edits. And he's like, F you, I don't do edits. Then I'm like, okay, this is going somewhere else then, because I need what I need as a publisher. I know what this needs to be in order to sell it. So if you can't work within the context of what I need as a publisher, you're out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you can't understand what the publisher wants to make and you're trying to change it up, it's like, no, this is how it should be. And it's like, well, I think it'll be like this. Like, no, if you look at, like say for an example, an artist, they reach out to me and they want to do a book, and I'm like, okay, well, here's an example page. I'll pay you for the page. And they go, well, I don't really do adult material. It's like, well, did you do any research before you asked me about doing a book? Because that's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to work.
I have to say that, when I was, I had scripted out the 8 pages of a story that I wanted, and I was looking for an artist, and I went trolling through DeviantArt more so than Instagram. And so I was looking for people who had the style that I was looking for, that I envisioned in my head. And then I basically kind of cyber stalked them a little bit to go, okay,
100%.
What are people saying about this guy? Does he deliver? Does he do sequential art? I mean, these were all things that I was like learning and going, okay, and then price. And his price was like pretty high. And I was just like, oh, my budget is such and such. And so then getting into the uncomfortable place, because I've never been like one to haggle price and stuff like that. But that seems to be an art among us folk here now. So I guess the art of haggling, that's the next question I wanted to ask. How much haggling do you do, and when do you say, nope, your price is good, I'm good with that?
I can tell you that DeviantArt is a place full of a lot of opinions. So what I do is, everybody has an opinion on what the going rate should be. But if you have a budget, that's the budget and that's it. So what I did, because I learned the hard way, because the first time I said, I put in, I was just putting an inquiry. And then all these knuckleheads just started responding and they got under control. So this next time I said, I have a specific budget in mind. This is what I'm looking for. This is exactly what and I detailed it out. And then I locked it. I said, if you're interested, hit me on my send me a message. I said, but I didn't allow for all of that nonsense to go back and forth. I said, only interested people send me your portfolios, and we'll go from there. And that's how I came across JC, and then we talked, and there was some wiggle room there, and because I have my high, I have my low, and I have my happy space, and so we met in the middle, and we locked it, and he started, and that was it. But I think you got to control the noise, because sometimes it can get out of control.
Yeah, we have, it depends on the art. Like, is it fully colored? Is it painted? Is it, whatever? Is it line work? Is it inks? There's a lot of different levels of what artists do, and what they expect, and what you can pay for. So, for us, especially in regards to new people, it almost isn't about the talent level that they're showing. It's, I have to take a risk on this new person. I can look at it and say, oh, this looks really cool and I really like it, but I could put it on a cover and everyone could be like, well, it's okay. And so I can't be here dropping $2,000 on something that is going to be something that people are gonna be like, well, yeah. So you have to kind of really figure out, like, this is what you're doing in comparison to what I've done in the past. This is what I paid for it. This is where I need to be. And they're either yes, no, maybe, again, back and forth, maybe meet in the middle. You have to be able to really kind of first and foremost understand your budget, and where the extra stretching might come from if you need to. But in some cases I've had new people where it's like, look, I'm comfortable at this number, and here's what I'll do. If it should sell a certain amount, like beyond what I'm expecting, then the next time we do this, we're going to bump you up, because clearly the fans responded to you. And they were like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And in almost all of those cases, we sold the books, and they were like, yeah, so let's do another one. And I'm like, yeah, let's go, man. So, there's that too. There's the idea of more work. And in most cases, artists like more work. So, they'll talk to you if it's going to be, hey, I'm doing Legend of Oz, and I'd like you to do, all 3 covers that we're going to do this year. Okay, cool. Let's work out some kind of a price that makes sense for everybody here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess it's one of those things, like for a creator, maybe an artist, maybe a writer, to say, hey, I'm kind of breaking in and stuff like that. I can negotiate the price because I want to build up my portfolio. Yeah. I don't highly recommend anybody really doing work for free anyway. I mean, if anything, compensated in books.
Oh, you should always at least get comps or something. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Never just a straight up, here's a piece, see ya. You should be able to make prints out of it. You should get some comps of the book. You should be mentioned on social media. You should be getting at least that type of back end stuff. But yeah, I mean, if it's your first ever job, you might not get paid, man. But at least at that point, you'll be able to say, I'm a published artist.
Right. And I think that's so important to build up that portfolio. And also, okay, so talk to me a little bit, Jim, damn this campaign.
You're almost there.
For anybody who's tuning in, because this does go up on the podcast and they're not going to see this, we've been scrolling through the Totally Rad Comics. Show me your hits.
There's only an hour left of scrolling.
Yeah, when you started scrolling, I kept thinking like, yeah, she's going to be doing this for a while.
Yeah, I'm like, keep talking. I mean, but this is beautiful art. And I mean, you can see there are some standout artists that I recognize on the spot, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your campaign here.
So Totally Rad Comics Show Me Your Hits is 7 different books that 6 of which we released in 2020. This one that you're going through right now is the Totally Rad Life of Violet one-shots, and it's actually our newest book. So we put a new book on here, but the other 6 are books that we released in 2020, just not on Kickstarter. So I figured, well, why don't we just do a Kickstarter for those who may have missed out? So we have our May the 4th Star Wars parody book, The Totally Rad Wars. We have our all ages comic, Strange Cosmic Tales. We have our summer special for our sexy clown, Roxy Feelgood. We also have our Totally Rad Cave Woman, who the Cave Woman and the Summer Special were actually on Indiegogo, so I figured, well, why not put them on Kickstarter as well? And yeah, and we also have Neon, our 80s slasher. We have her first issue on here, as well as the same first issue for Roxy Feelgood, for those who missed out on those two characters, because they're between Violet, Roxy Feelgood, and Neon, our 80s slasher. Those are our three main Totally Rad babes in the Totally Rad universe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the clowns, because a lot of people do not like clowns.
Well, I mean, I created Roxy Feelgood and the Roxy Feelgood universe because of the fact that everyone is terrified of clowns. That seems to be a new thing that everyone wants to. They want to see the new It. They want to see the new scary clowns. So I figured, well, why not make clowns sexy again? You know, everyone likes Harley Quinn.
Again?
But it's not really a clown.
Wait a minute. Again? How do you make them sexy again? When were they sexy?
Well, I guess I'm making them. I guess I'm breaking the walls here. But I'm making them sexy. You know, you don't see enough of them, and you know, it's basically in the Totally Rad universe. Roxy Feelgood is a movie that Violet goes to see in issue 2, and you know, it's a fun book. It's an adult X-rated book, just with clowns having sex, having fun. Instead of, you know, Planet of the Apes, we have Planet of the Clowns. You know, we have, like, instead of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Clown. You know, stuff like that. You know, it's fun. It's movies. And 80s references, a lot of 80s references. And yeah, I mean, then one of the summer issue, they go through time with a magical remote. So there's that. But actually, they go through TV channels. So they go to, like, basically the Land of the Lost. Then they go to the 80s workout channel. Then, you know, they're at a football game and they're in the locker room. You can assume where all this leads to.
Nice.
All right, and this is pretty impressive too. 148 backers, 8 days to go, $15,116. And this is what I was talking about earlier. It's like you had a goal of 500. Was that so that you could add stretch goals and things? You know, I mean, because with the history of your Kickstarters and stuff like that, I mean, there's a certain level you know you're going to hit.
Yeah, so basically, like, I've gotten to the point, I did this on the last Kickstarter, and I wanted to do this again where we would hit a point on the stretch goals. With stretch goals, like, sometimes they're like magnets or stickers or something, but for me, it's like, I want to go big. Like, I want something that people get and they actually want it. You know, they get magnets, they get stickers, they get those mini prints. It's like, you know, maybe they don't want them, maybe they do. But, like, so the last Kickstarter we did, we gave them a free Ashcan comic book. That's a free comic book on top of the pledge that you already got. So for this one, I was like, well, because these are all books that we've released, I mean, the goal should be low, because all these books have already been printed, they've been made, with the exception of the new one shot. So I figured $500 is fine. If we hit 15,000, which we did today, everyone gets a free Ashcan comic book of a new Totally Rad comic that is coming this year. And it is not something you can buy. It is not something you can get outside of the Kickstarter. It is if you're a backer only, you will get this Ashcan. So if we end with 148 backers, then there will only be 148 copies made.
Okay, I mean, so that is one way to market. And I guess the last question that I want to ask you guys is, how do you choose where you market your stuff? Because I know Facebook is huge. I mean, there are like billions of people that go there. So obviously, where else do you go to try and network and find the people and find your audience? Or is Facebook it?
Nowhere. I hate Twitter. I hate Instagram. We're
Facebook
there.
Is it, huh?
We are represented there. We are there. BDI Comics on both. So for those of you that like Twitter, Instagram, you can follow us right there. I don't like anything about the platforms. I'm less worried about Instagram, but I just don't like Twitter. So we've kind of chosen Facebook as our primary. This is where you find us. All of the functions here work very easily. It's obviously we're on StreamYard here. Everything kind of works together with StreamYard and all that. It's very, very super easy to cultivate a crowd and an audience here. It's very, very super easy to walk away from, like we talked about, anything that's toxic and weird. It's very easy to block people, and just, it's very easy to do things right where we're at on Facebook. So while we are on Instagram, while we are on Twitter, I do have a Patreon, which has been growing, which is super fun. In fact, we just picked up another patron today. So we're at 28 patrons on Patreon. That's been super fun to do. But really, we focus on Facebook and make that our primary landing point for, people to find us.
I'm everywhere. Until I build that reputation and that following. Right now, I am spread everywhere. We're on Twitch, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, on Snapchat, we're Twitter, we're everywhere. So it's like just trying to get the word out. It's a lot of work, but until we can build that, it's a necessity right now.
Mm-hmm. Jim, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like Tom. Like, there's Twitter and there's Instagram, but like, there's too many social medias, and like, as far as traffic for comics goes, like, Facebook seems to track really well, especially if you're in the right groups. Now, if you're in the wrong groups, I mean, it's like, you just got to find a better group. You can't be in the records group trying to sell comics. You gotta be in the comics group. You can't be in the Victoria's Secret group. Just be in the comic group.
I don't know. I think you could probably be in the Victoria's Secret group.
Yes,
well,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where people struggle with, because there's so many options as far as social media and where to go. And, one of the things that I try and say is find where your audience is and then cater to them. But then there's also that fine line of, if that's where your audience is, how do you find the new audience or the step beyond them and kind of reach that? Because at some point, and I'm not saying any of you guys have reached that, where it just feels like the same people over and over and over again.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, how do I get to the step beyond? How do I get to those pastures?
So look, right now on Kickstarter, I have 317 backers. Of those 317, I probably know 100 of them. Of those 100, maybe 20 or 30 interact with me in any sort of regular capacity. But that means there's 217 people that I literally don't know that found my stuff because I'm on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. And that's just like we're talking about with Sam. I mean, that's the value of being everywhere, but that's a crap load of work to be everywhere. So, and just like we talked, just like Jim did Indiegogo and Kickstarter, there's no reason not to do both. I'm telling you right now, guys, there's no reason not to do both. You'll figure out that one works for you better. That's natural. One will work for you better than the other, period. We don't know which one it will be until you do it, but one will work better for you than the other. That is the historical fact of everybody that I know that has done both. But just because one did less than the other doesn't mean it's not valuable, because that's a different group of people that have found you. Simple as that. So every time you enter a Facebook group and you are actively posting, anytime you are in a group and you're reacting to other people's stuff, all of that is putting your name out there in some capacity. And you can do that just on Facebook. You can do that just on Instagram. You can do that just on Twitter, or you can spend your Sunday and do it on all of them, which I'm just not willing to do. I get too much else to do, so I've focused on Facebook, and then I've got somebody that helps me kind of sort of copy and paste to Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. Now we are getting close to the 90-minute mark, and we are going to say goodbye. But before we do, Geek Insider, we usually have one final question that we ask all our guests before we end the show. And that is, if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't walk away.
Huh? Well, and that's based on your history. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, when I created I was known for a book called "There's an Alien on My Toilet," and at that time,
wait, what?
I have a comic book called "There's an Alien in My Toilet."
I love it.
His name is Duty. He's from the planet Uranus. And so I was talking to the networks at the time, and we were talking to Disney, and at the time it was Kids WB, and we were represented by Circle of Confusion, which represents Robert Kirkman. They were managing his stuff at the time, and then for some reason it seemed like all of the networks were changing leadership. And so the new leadership came in and they dropped Kids WB, and Disney was going a different direction. So then everyone put everything on pause. That happened, and some other things happened, and I just gave up, and I walked away from everything. And I would tell myself, don't walk away, just stay focused.
Okay, who's next? If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice.
I would probably go slap myself in the face before I sold my comic collection. I had like 100 long boxes collection at one point. And life just got in the way. It was, 9/11 time, all kinds of stuff were going down. And it was just like, dude, I just have to move this out of here. I have a tiny apartment. It's the size of an entire bedroom. So I cringe when I think about what could be right now if I had just put it in storage, like a normal sane person, instead of like sending it all, like taking it to a convention and being like, take my comics. Yeah, things would be a little bit different right now, but yeah. Hindsight 2020.
Considering that there are some comic books that would probably pay for my house 10 times over. Yeah. Jim, how about you?
For me, it would be like, save her money. She's not worth it. That's pretty much going back like every
Stop
year.
buying girls diamonds.
Going back every year for the last like 10 years. Just if I could go back every year for the last 10 years, I'd be a millionaire right now.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And I wouldn't have paid off a car that I only got to drive once. So yeah.
All right, Jim. I know that we've got to sit one of these days and just have stories.
That's awesome.
I know you've got tons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, guys, that's it. I want to thank you so much for being part of Geek Speak here. Head over to our YouTube channel was nuked. We are rebuilding, so make sure that you head over to it. There is a new one.
We are the first show on the new YouTube channel.
Yes, and I will be uploading like a mad woman some of the old episodes and stuff like that. So I mean that kind of stinks, but yeah, head over to YouTube. You will see Geek Insider without the S, and I think we've got like 20 subscribers now. So please head over, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to get notified when we go live. A lot of times we go live Monday and Thursday. We have Sunday Comics Brunch at 11 a.m. Sunday mornings. And, sometimes we have special guests. We have a good in with Shudder, Full Moon Features, and a few other publicists who are sending, all kinds of people and talent our way for interviews. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notifications button. And in the descriptions, you guys, anybody who's listening and watching, there are the links to their Kickstarters. Make sure that you head over there, give it some love. If you cannot throw any money at it, that's fine. Hit the share button and share it out with your friends. Because again, with the networking thing and getting to that audience that is a step beyond, that makes all the difference in the world on that night. Any other things that you guys want to say?
Thank you.
We're good.
Keep
We're good.
back in the free world.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it. This is what we were talking about earlier. Like, how do you get yourself out there? You got to do all of these different things. And it's great to turn your phone on and talk to your audience, but every time you're on someone else's phone and you're talking to their audience, that's how you start to incrementally level it all up. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. On that note, you guys, we'll see you soon Sunday for Sunday Comics Brunch. Take care.
At Geek Insider, we foster relationships with those in the geek sphere so we can give our audience the insider view of entertainment, tech, and more.